Okay, number one is ordinance calendar number 7937. Ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Chapter 40, Utilities, Article 11, Sewage from Septic and Sludge, Section 40, 330, Inspection of individual sewage systems to require triennial inspections of individual sewage systems and the issuance of certificates of inspection related thereto, and to provide for other matters. Mr. Impastato and Mr. Corbin. So we have two substitute motions available, and we have a lot of speakers. We're going to open the floor up to speakers first. Excuse me. Same thing as before. We have Mr. Reichert Toledano first, followed by Ms. Christy Trail. Please step up there and be ready to speak next. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Reichert Toledano, for the record, please. I'm here on behalf of this ordinance, and I want to start by first thanking and reiterating your comments about Mr. Menard. He was a pleasure to work with on the years that I was served in the position that you ladies and gentlemen do. This is an ordinance that's very, very dear to my heart and the heart of many. I want you to know, for those who have just come to the council, that this was vetted more so than any ordinance that I'm aware of in 8 or 10 years. That is to say, we worked on it for over a year. We had a great committee, and I want to acknowledge those people on that committee who included Mr. Brown, Tim Brown of the Parish, Chris Tissue, Kevin Caillouette, Emily Couvillon, Peyton Gregg, Tim Smith, Gene Marino, and Terry Stevens. We met, I'm not sure how many times. We looked at this from every aspect. We realized that this is the most critical environmental legislation that you could possibly entertain, I believe, in this council. Some of y'all and most of y'all have heard the numbers. Over 36,000 of these facilities in this community, more so than any parish around this area. It is the greatest cause of pollution in St. Tammany Parish. So what we did is we set about trying to create an ordinance that would be fair to everybody, but would be environmentally the right thing to do going forward in the parish. And this is the product that we've come with. We've built in some controls and we've built in some exemptions. For instance, in districts such as Ms. Tanner, just not to single out, but just to make it clear, in areas where there's large pieces of property, we provided for exemptions. So I think we've covered just about everything that probably needs to be covered and could possibly be addressed. As you know, we had a pilot program and that was successful. So I'm urging you tonight to please introduce this ordinance and let us to continue to go forward with it. It I think is really one of the great things that you could do as a council to make St. Tammany Parish still the environmentally great place to live that we all know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. After Ms. Trail, we have Mr. Charlie Clark. Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Christy Trail, and I'm the Executive Director of Pontchartrain Conservancy. We're here in support of this ordinance regarding sewage and septic and sludge, which requires triennial inspections of individual sewage systems and the issuance of certificates of inspection. For over 23 years, our organization has assisted thousands of homeowners across the Florida parishes, including many here in St. Tammany Parish. 2/3 of the parish relies on on-site wastewater treatment systems, most often aerated treatment units or ATUs. While homeowners often assume that these systems are working simply because the toilet flushes, the reality is different. Nationally, between 10 and 20% of these systems are not adequately treating waste. But here in St. Tammany, we've seen failure rates that can exceed 50% in some neighborhoods. The causes of failure are often preventable and include solids buildup, broken aerators, clogged lines, and even tree roots and heavy vehicles damaging components. When these systems fail, untreated or poorly treated sewage can enter our ditches, creeks, rivers, and eventually the lake, degrading water quality, contributing to impaired waterways, and creating public health and quality of life issues. A failed home sewer system is not just an individual homeowner's problem. It is a community problem, and those economic and health effects are shared by the community, not just the property owner. Our inspection programs have shown that regular monitoring and inspections make a difference. In the Abita River area, we performed over 1,300 inspections, most of these in the Tammany Hills area, and we found 53% of those systems were not operating properly. With follow-ups to each system, we were able to identify and help correct hundreds of failing systems. When we finished this program in this area 3 years later, 85% of homes were in compliance. This is a huge success. One system discharges about 500 gallons per day. But success does not occur without continued attention. Even systems that pass inspection can fail over time, as we saw during the COVID-19 shutdown when more people were home and inspections were paused. We support the parish's effort to begin triannual on-site home sewer inspections. The health of our waterways is tied directly to the health of our communities. By supporting this ordinance, we can reduce a clear public health risk, safeguard our rivers and bayous, and ensure St. Tammany remains a desirable place to live, work, and visit. Pontchartrain Conservancy has been a long-standing partner with St. Tammany Parish, and we want to be a resource for you all. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions regarding home sewer systems. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to protecting the parish's water resources.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clark? After Mr. Clark is Mr. Ed Kelly. Please step up to the front, Mr. Kelly, and be prepared to speak when Mr. Clark is complete. State your name for the record. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Charlie Clark. I live at 21458 Casrell, unincorporated Mandeville. And my story tonight is I hear, and as a conservationist myself, certainly I want to have clean waters, and I want those things that make our parish flourish. But if you look at this issue, it represents over 1/3 of the population in St. Tammany Parish. We're about to unleash an enforcement entity on those people who are the least likely to pay to be able to bring their systems up to standard. You know, my brother and I have 60 years of state law enforcement. Law enforcement is the last thing you do to gain compliance. Education, you know, Nike says it best. People like to be educated and not told. As a resident who has a septic system, I can tell you, I have never gotten anything that told me, number one, how to maintain my system, or number two, except for the conservancy, I believe it was last year or the year before, with 3 individuals who came around, one with a stethoscope, who wanted to hear if your aerator was actually blowing bubbles. So my concern here is that we've not done enough. I mean, this is our problem. I would have loved to have plugged into a central sewer system instead of buying an individual treatment plant for my house. The parish and the government didn't provide that for me. And I know it's no blame to you, but we fail so much along the way in these kind of categories. We don't have water, which means we don't have fire hydrants. We don't have firefighting capability unless the water truck comes. If you know anything about those water trucks, that's about 10 minutes worth of firefighting that goes on there. So the issue of government helping the citizens, you know, it's like everything else. If you would have October awareness for your septic tank month, and you would actually help people. I don't know many people, probably like you, who actually want to pollute our waters. So I think that there's a lot that we can do before we unleash law enforcement onto people, especially those people who can't afford to do it. You know, and one of the things I looked at where the genesis of this money is going to come from, and that's mosquito abatement. And I hope no one on the council believes we've won the mosquito war, because we haven't. Last night was the first time I heard the plane fly in months. And I believe that if we're going to have mosquito abatement money applied to anything, you
just try to wrap it up real quick. Your time is up. You had 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. And to close it all off, we need to help the people, help educate the people. If we're going to apply money in safety, health, and welfare, how about we keep the criminals in jail and we fund the DA if we have surplus money?
Well said.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, I'm sorry. Next is Ms. Bridget Bennett. Ms. Kelly, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and proceed.
Ed Kelly, Pearl River. On this proposal here, you're talking about, triennial inspections. That's every 3 years. And from my understanding, there's like 20,000 to 30,000 sewer systems in the parish.
36.
That's 10,000 a year you would have to do if you staggered it out. How are you going to do 10,000 inspections a year? This is what it says right here, triennial, which is every 3 years. So that would be 10,000 inspections. How are you going to do 10,000 inspections? Who's going to pay for that? How is the parish going to pay for that? Are they going to be qualified people that's taking these samples? Are they sealing them? Are they tagging them? Are they sending them to a lab that's qualified and calibrated by DEQ standards? Or is it just going to be nothing against the parish worker or something? Or is it just going to be the guy from the parish going out there, putting it in a little cup, screwing the lid on? Oh yeah, this came from this address, here we go. They get mixed up, and then you're going after this person over here that is totally legal when you use the other person's sample, because you got them mixed up because there's no track and no quality control of that, and just the cost of it. And when you damage, parish comes on. I'm still fighting them, the drainage department, about damage they've done on my property for almost 3 years now. Nobody has answered who's going to pay for that. Parish just, Public Works just keeps denying we're not paying for it. There needs to be something in that law. Parish comes on somebody's property to do something, they damage it, they are responsible, and the person should have the opportunity to confront the department head or something instead of having to go through the council that does not have no control over the parish, over the department head. Because we got to go to parish council. Okay, they go there. They do what they can, but they can't tell them go do this. You need to put some teeth in that. And the thing is, there's already controls in place. I replaced my house 10 years ago. You got to go to Covington, Slidell, to Towers Building, Robert Road, through the DEQ, get all these permits, pay all these fees and stuff before you can get your power turned on or get anything done to get your house back in order. There's already stuff in place. So out of these, say, 20, 30,000 people, how many of them is over, say, 10 years or so? Because if somebody just built the house within 5 years, that sewer system's still going to be working fine, the aerator and everything. I think it's a little overkill, especially triennial. Every 3 years, that's 10,000 a year. There's no way you're going to accomplish that. And that's all I have to say. You need to figure something else out. I'm all for clean water, don't get me wrong, but this is overkill right here.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your time. After Ms. Bennett is Chief Warhorse.
Good evening. I'll be quick. I just want to say this does not affect me. I live in a town where I pay for all these services, but I know a lot of people that it will affect, and I've heard the same thing from all of them. I will start with saying that I believe in the value of mosquito abatement, and I don't want to see it go anywhere, but I will say that if they have an extra $1.5 million in their budget to give to you guys, they probably need to roll something back and or, go back to the voters and see what they want to do with that. I don't think it's fair that, they can give this much money to something that not everybody agrees on. Secondly, I just want to say that I am in full support of clean waters. I'm not against this. I think that it's a good thing, but I think as it stands right now, it's not a good thing. I know that you guys have been working to tweak it a little bit and have done so, but I think it needs a lot more work. And with the idea that we still don't know how we're going to fund the DA, I think, that's probably more important than this. So I would just like to see you guys go back to the table and make a few more modifications to this before you rush it through. Thank you.
Thank you. After Chief Warhorse is Bennett Harris. Please be prepared.
Okay.
State your name. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Chief Warhorse. I live on Dixie Ranch Road. Most of y'all know how I feel about it, but I do want to say this. I know y'all all have been working hard with different package plans, and those who have done that, I know you didn't waste your time, but we have not been included in everything. So you all then came together, I think, with 1 or 2 plans. I'm still standing not in my district, okay? We want the opportunity, as the people who are going to be the victims, to see all packets before anything is finalized. I think we as the citizens have a right to see and understand what is being put before you all and before us to be voted on. Next, I would like to say this. I don't know how they're going to do the 10,000 either, sir, because they can't get the ditches straight. And we don't know who to point fingers at for the drainage. If I call my councilman, he said, "Oop, not me." So, Mr. President, they've been pointing us to you now. Through this thing, they say, come to you. We need to know first as citizens, who is representing us with what? Because we are confused. Who do we go to for what? Can y'all make us a manual or something? We don't know what to do. And I'm speaking not for myself, but for other people who are confused. So if we're telling you all we are confused, and you're still gonna rush something upon us, that's not fair. We want better understanding. We wanna know our property is protected. You know, my family lost a lot of property because of people who was elected officials who could pass laws to change things that made them lose a lot. So I watch laws. I love Arthur, I love Jimmy, but I don't want them to protect my land without not telling me what they're doing to protect it. I think we need to not rush this. I hear some people saying we're going to do this by January. What's the rush? I'm agreeing with the gentleman. If you want to do something, let's join forces and have community education about the proper things with the soil while looking for funding to eliminate the whole overall issue. We all want clean water. We're not fighting you, and I don't want to fight you, but we got to fight for ourselves if you all are not going to represent us. You're elected to bring what we want from the district to this council, and we trust in you all for that. Please consider putting this thing off to get some education or 2 packets that y'all don't even know about yourself too much, and help educate the community. Stop running this race fast. I'm gonna say it in my grandfather's word and I'm gonna close. Fast horse run fast, don't last long.
Mr. Harris. After Mr. Harris is Mr. Lawrence Hark. You have 3 minutes, sir. Please state your name and proceed.
My name is Bennett Harris, and I'm representing the honeybee community today. This ordinance that you're trying to put on us about the sewage, first you need to get us some drainage. Our ditch go from one end of the street down to the end, it makes a circle, comes back up to my end, makes a circle, goes down to our mailbox and goes under the street. The water is not going nowhere. We don't have drainage. It's not feeding out to Bayou Paquet. Bayou Paquet is on the other side of 190. Then you're gonna say, you're gonna find these people, my community, everybody in there is mostly in their 80s. They've been there for years. They have septic tanks, some of them. Some of the newer homes, we have treatment plants. But if you say you're gonna fine somebody $100 a day, 3 months, that's $10,000. You're shutting off their utilities, and you're trying to put a lien on their land. That's not fair to us. We try to do what we can with what we got. They haven't cut the ditches in 10 years. 10 years. And then when I called and told them I got a new home put in, they came and they dug in front of my house from one end of my property line to the other. Where's the water going? I had to tell them that I was gonna sue the parish because the ditches had came up to my treatment plant pipe before they come to dig them. We didn't have no street lights It's dangerous curves. It's not even a road wide enough for a bus, the school bus. Come down the street, you got to get off the street and let the school bus go by. We don't have no fire hydrants. If your house catch on fire, they bring one truck, and if one truck can't get past another truck, they got to go all the way to Thompson Road to get water to come back. Every house that done caught on fire in the neighborhood has burned down. This is not fair, people. It's not fair. You need to take this under consideration. And like I said, most of the people in my community are retired. Most of the people on the front are in their 80s and 90s. They can't afford $100 a day. It's no way that it could be done and be fair. It's a land grab.
Mr. Lawrence Hark, is it? Okay, Ms. Elizabeth Teague. After Ms. Teague is Mr. Matthew Allen. Mr. Lawrence, just have a seat. We'll get you right after Mr. Allen.
Hi, some of you do know who I am, and others I have not really even personally spoken to before. 40 years ago, I sat where you sit. This has been deja vu for me, and also it's been a little hard to watch because it's the same stuff. But the main thing and the main reason I'm here to speak tonight is when I took a look at this, and I had a septic tank when I built my house almost 50 years ago in Oak Manor subdivision, which is next to the nudist camp there on Highway 190. And the gentleman from Honeybee, I can tell you where his water goes. It goes all over my neighborhood too, and still does not get down to Bayou Liberty. But the main thing I think we need to look at here is not the fact that we've got poor drainage, or the fact that we're fighting people about the fact that we do need to not pollute our rivers and our streams, and eventually, of course, Lake Pontchartrain. But what we got to look at is that we don't put the cost of that onto those of us, now that I'm retired, that can least afford that. After Hurricane Katrina, I lived in a home where I had 100 trees go down. I live on about an acre, 8 on the house. My insurance would pay for the 8. FEMA got in touch and said, oh, we'll come get the rest for you. So I was working at the hospital at the time. I marked off in yellow where my field bed was. I know a little bit about septic tanks and that sort of thing. And they ran their equipment over that, and everything backed up into my house. So at that point in time, I did have to replace my system with a full system with the aerator and the new tank and a whole new field bed. And at that time, it was almost $4,000, and that's been 20 years ago. Okay, so the thought of having to do something like that to people, and then to find them as well, is putting the cost of this on the people less likely to be able to afford it. And that was the part of this bill that I had the most problem with, not cleaning it up, but that part. And that's the part that really needs to be worked at. And I would suggest to you that you seriously look at that. And then also look at some of the things I've heard tonight that I thought were very positive, as far as letting people know they need to get their septic tank pumped. I even get my system pumped. Okay, and the fact that I've also had to replace my aerator at least once, but that's on me, and that should be something that people know is going to be part of their, if they move out into the county or into the parish, they know that that's going to be an expense they look at. This other that I see written now is not. And so I would suggest to you greatly and very seriously, you know, it's not, we don't need something that helps us have a better life and have a better area. I mean, when I sat where you do, there was no building code in St. Tammany 40 years ago.
Ms. Teague, your time is up. Thank you very much. Mr. John, after Mr. Allen is Mr. What was it? State your name and please proceed, sir.
All right, thank you. I'm Matthew Allen, representing North Shore River Watch again, and they're handing out just a couple pages I wanted you to see. First off, North Shore River Watch does support stronger inspections. It is a problem. As Ms. I'm sorry. As Ms. Trail said, their study showed about 50% of the home systems are failing. I've read the study. Great job with the science, by the way. I really appreciate the work y'all do. But I like to bring facts, okay? One fact is you get permits for commercial properties. You get health and hospitals approval for sewer systems for individual home ones. That doesn't mean it's clean water coming out. A permit is permission to add pollutants. So every single home you add in on an individual sewer plant, even if it's working perfectly, is going to add pollutants to the environment. It's a big issue. And it's an issue we're running into with the small individual community plants that you'll get for each subdivision. And that's a big point I wanted to make out, to do. But this is a small step. I mean, this is a small step on what y'all need to do. So we are supporting it. There's no doubt about it. We do need to clean up our waterways. I haven't swam in the Lower Tchefuncte in 20 years because it's been so polluted. When I was teaching, we'd have students who'd swim in the Lower Tchefuncte. I taught at Mandeville High for 20 years. They'd come in after a weekend and all their little cuts would have staph infections and stuff in them. This is a public health issue that has not been addressed in over 40 years. And really, this is almost kicking the can down the road for what really needs to happen. Let's be clear about this. We need regional sewer treatment. And if you look at that packet, that first page I have for y'all, this is from the EPA website on treatment plants. Every little pink triangle is a permitted commercial sewer plant. Now, most of them are under $10,000. You know, a lot of these small businesses have to have their own, but a lot of them are these individual package plants that run anywhere from, 20, 30,000 gallons a day to 100,000 gallons a day. And they don't always work. The next page, we did a study in January on the sewer treatment plant for Lake Ramsey, looking at the discharge monitoring reports. Not a single month in 4 years were they in compliance. These plants don't work well, and I can give you examples forever of problems we've had with sewer treatment plants discharging poorly into the systems. So we need to do regional. That would solve a lot of the problems and get rid of me from a lot of your meetings too. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Lawrence, you have 3 minutes, sir. Please state your name. After Mr. Lawrence is Ms. Sherry
He got me
Rowland.
talking for him a little bit because he can't hear.
I can't hear.
State your name.
I'm Lawrence Hawk.
Okay, give me where you live at. Where you live at?
60524 North Ridgewood Drive.
Okay. He basically came up, Jimmy, to show support to you is what he's saying, him and his wife. You know they have community meetings in your district. He's here to let you know that they would rather for you to stick with them, with not in their district. So he came basically to speak on letting you know that. Did I do good?
Go ahead. You speak for me.
All right. So, Jimmy, that's basically what he wanted you to know. All right? Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Rowland, I'm sorry. And after Ms. Rowland is Mr. Aaron Williams. Mr. Williams, please step up to the front. Ms. Rowland. Mr. Williams, you have the podium. Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Ms. Rowland's not here.
Aaron Williams, from Rural 6th Ward. I'm here against the ordinances, both of them that are currently proposed. The first one, the numbers don't add up. I was at the community meeting with Mr. Tim Brown. He sent me some of the information. They claim 50% or more failure rate. They did a 1,000 unit test run. They found actual failed inspections of 21.4%. They then included another 10% as failures because they didn't look at them. That still only adds up to 35%, not the 50. So the numbers don't make sense. They claimed that it would be $100 per inspection, yet we're allocating around $800,000 to this. Those numbers don't add up either. None of this makes sense. Also, one proposal only looks at the aeration. No water quality testing was done. In order to promote that, there were 12 samples taken from around the parish. 12. 600 miles of ditches, mosquito abatement treats. And they took 12 samples to promote this. They did test them, however, they did not have any specs on what they should be, what's good, what's bad, what's not. They just said, here's the numbers. And we have to figure that out for ourselves, what they mean. So we still don't know what those 12 samples even mean, where they were collected, or anything. The second proposal from Mr. Kugel actually has water sample testing as part of it. Personally, if one of them goes through, I would like to see that one, but with more time. There has to be some more testing, more clear paths on what has to happen. The water quality testing, if this is really about water quality in our waterways, we have to test the water. If we're not sampling water quality, we're just running around throwing money at a problem that may not be the problem. We need to actually find the source of the problem and fix it. And this parish has enough money issues. If we have $800,000 to throw at an ambitious project like this, we can put that somewhere else and look at this more closely and do something meaningful rather than just say that we're doing something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We have Mr. Mac Lambert. After Mr. Lambert is Mr. Michael Brewster.
Everything's been said already.
Okay, Mr. Lambert. Mr. Brewster, do you feel the same way? Okay. We have no more speakers. I'm so sorry. Spruger, step up to the podium. You have to state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll read this quick. My name is Mike Brewster. I live 57247 Page Street, Slidell. I'm against this ordinance. It's going to make undue hardship for the homeowners and people. We are struggling right now. Some people are struggling right now just trying to pay rent on their houses and losing their properties. And this here would be more extra burden on them. I think this thing be either canceled, tabled, or reviewed and looked at later on. And that's all I have to say.
You want to speak? Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Let's bring it back to the council. We have Mr. Corbin.
Okay, can I make my motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to substitute for the motion that's out, or the ordinance that's out there. It's a complete substitution. I'd be happy to go over it in detail.
Please go over it in detail, I think.
Okay, in listening to everyone talk tonight, I took notes and I wrote down 13 specific items that were referenced. And what I'm going to walk through is I believe we've addressed all 13 of them that were raised. I heard about education. I heard about we're rushing this through. I heard about excuse me. I heard about fines of $100 a day. I've heard about income, low income. I've heard about what we're doing to people. I've heard about a need for regional sewage treatment. I don't doubt that we do need that, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. But what I'm going to talk through is we have written an ordinance. This is not an ordinance that's been rushed through. As was mentioned earlier, this was worked on for over a year by the Undertreated Wastewater Task Force as part of the last council. Then this was introduced in August, and there were some questions about the quality of our ordinance, and so we spent the last 2 months working on that ordinance. Since the time that it was originally introduced, and this has been posted for a week and a half. It's been posted and updated, but as it's made minor changes in the last day. In fact, there was a minor update, and I'll explain to you what it was that was made yesterday. This has been posted for a week and a half, so it's out there, well out there for everybody to take a look at. Even though the actual ordinance was in the packet, these two amendments, mine as well as Councilman Kugel's, have both been posted so that the public can read those ordinances. Let me walk through what we've changed. First off, we limited the area of impact for this by focusing below the urban growth boundary. So everything of properties above the urban growth boundary will not be subjected to this ordinance. Those properties are going to be subjected to the ordinance that's in place today. That ordinance in place today is every time there's power changes, it gets inspected, and there was some question about the ability to conduct 12,000 inspections per year. Right now, the team conducts 2,000 inspections per year for power transfers. So they understand the process, they understand the inspection, and they've been doing it for quite some time. In addition, if you think about it, think about how properties are located when somebody's turning on power or they're buying or selling a home. Those properties, nobody does that in a whole neighborhood. That's over here, and then it's in this neighborhood, and it's up in this neighborhood. Think about how inefficient it is to go do that. Imagine the program we're proposing would go into a neighborhood and work through the whole neighborhood in a sequential fashion. Think about how much more efficient that is versus spending all that time driving from place to place. This go to a neighborhood. I have a sewage treatment system in my home. I live in Quail Ridge. I've had it the whole time I've lived there. I still have it, and it still functions. If we think, we talked about how these things are certified. Why would we only look at the mechanical side and not go measure the water? I don't know how many of you know how these systems are certified in order they can be permitted by the Louisiana Department of Health. The way they're permitted so that you can go install them in your home is they take a system in an engineering environment, a full system. They put an influent into it, and they run the effluent for it, and they make sure that it reduces some credible quantity in terms of what it does to the water to improve the water quality. It's done in a lab environment. What makes that function? What makes it function are the mechanical components that are embedded in that system. The aerator and a stirrer, those kind of components are what makes that system function fundamentally different than a septic tank. A septic tank doesn't do any of that. That's anaerobic versus aerobic. By pumping in the air, you get a much more efficient processing, and you're getting a much cleaner product. Is it potable water? It's not potable water. But is it cleaner water? It's much cleaner. Septic tanks produce undertreated or in some cases untreated waste deposited in our ditches if it goes directly to the ditch, and that is not an acceptable configuration in today's environment. We talked about funding. The funding originally when this was first talked about, we estimated it to be $100 per home to have these to get your inspection certificate. We have found funding by working with mosquito abatement and also funding that the Department of Environmental Services has in their own budget, so we can go eliminate the cost of the fee. So there's no fee for your certification. So when your certification when you have your system inspected, there's no fee attached to it. They come and inspect it. They give you a certification for it, inspection certification, and that is transferable. So this will, for the areas of below the urban growth boundary, which we're talking about, the coastal areas, but below the urban growth boundary, those areas, once they're inspected, they will not be subjected to property transfers anymore or power turnovers. The certificate that comes with this is transferable to the next person. In addition, the certificate is good for 3 years. However, if, for example, the parish hasn't got back to you and said, you know, your system's up for re-inspection, then your inspection certificate moves forward administratively until the parish notifies you that it's time for a new inspection. So you're not going to be getting fined because you missed it and you forgot that you didn't notice that your inspection had expired. In addition, to address the waterways that have the highest concentration, someone mentioned a pilot study. There's a pilot study of 1,000 properties. The pilot study was done in districts 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 11, and 13. 13 is my district. They looked at 1,000 studies. The gentleman was correct. 21.5% failure. That's what the failure rate was. They referenced things and listed it on the sheet as failures if they couldn't get to the property or couldn't get access. That was not used in any of the calculations that we used in building this ordinance. We used only ones that were inspected and actually failed. And of those, 21.5% failed. On the program where we're looking at things at power, the failure rate is as high as 50%. The lady from the Pontchartrain Conservancy told you what the failure rate they've experienced. Those are not fake numbers. We can provide the study if you want to take a look at it. If you want to see the results and see what happened, we can provide that information to you. This is supported by data. I'm a person that, in God we trust, all of us bring data. I'm a person who believes in data, and we use data to go formulate this process. We're going to, in this program, we've targeted focusing on areas, just I mentioned, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 11, and 13. The coastal properties, do those first. We already know those are the worst places. Now, why would we not do, as part of our initial program, why wouldn't we do above the urban growth boundary? Because most of those systems are going to be exempt. because they're on property, they've got plenty of room to dispose of their waste on their own property. It's not coming off their property, so it's not getting into our waterways. Not the same as dense developments where we have drainage directly into a ditch and then it flows into the ditch into the waterways. Other things that we've done, somebody mentioned the fines. We have reduced the fines. The fines are not $100 a day. They're not $100 a week. The fines have been reduced to $100 a month, unless you're a landlord, and then they're $500 a month. So that's a very relatively inexpensive relative to the fines. But we've also built in timelines for when those fines come into play. The fines come into play if you're not making any effort to improve your system and bring it out of non-compliance. As long as you're moving forward, then the timelines come into play, and you're not going to get fined until you quit making progress and you give up on fixing your system. In addition, somebody mentioned education. Excuse me, sir.
Sir, please.
Somebody mentioned education. We have a paragraph, if you go read it, paragraph 3, page 2, specifically addresses education of the public. DES is required to go develop a communication plan to communicate to the parish the different neighborhoods and areas as we start to move into those areas, to help them understand what are the requirements, why are we doing it, why is this necessary, what do you need to do to maintain your system. That's already embedded in this ordinance. So that's another change we made. In addition, there's testing as part of this. The testing is, once you go start doing this, we want to know if we're making any effect. Right now, the parish is working with the Pontchartrain Conservancy again. There's a $313,000 grant from the EPA to go measure water quality in 20 locations on a monthly basis. So we're going to be able to, as we're rolling this program out and starting, we're going to be collecting data once a month in 20 locations to make sure that what we're doing is having an impact and in fact yielding the benefits that we believe it's going to. In addition, we have a low-income grant program. Currently on the current program for power transfers that exists, we have a low-income grant program that covers for people that make less than $75,000 in a household, which is the HUD cutoff. For people in that category, they get 100% cost reimbursement for the cost of repair and or replacement. You hear that? 100% reimbursement for the cost of repair and or replacement. In addition, we're working with local lending institutions to also see if we can get in place a low-interest loan program for people that aren't low enough on the income ladder to qualify for free, but to find a way to let them have a way to get their systems fixed too. It is triennial. That is exactly correct. We're going to have regular sampling. We added there's one of the sections that I added that we added in the last day was to have sampling done by DES in order to inform the prioritization of what neighborhoods and what areas we go work on first. It's in the book. It's in our ordinance. We talked about a non-conforming system. We talked about the urban growth boundary. We are inspecting mechanical systems. I explained why we're doing that. You get a certificate of compliance. As I said, the penalties have been substantially reduced. I think that we have addressed the 13 different items that I wrote down that we picked up from our last meeting when this was first tried to be introduced, and at conversations we've had in the community meetings we held to go get feedback on what we're trying to go do. So this is not a rush job. This is in my opinion, is a well thought out, comprehensive approach to improving the water in our area. And I recognize that for people that may not be able to afford making the adjustments, they're going to have the improvements after they get inspected. They may have to get a low interest loan, or they may have to get a grant. But the important thing that I think we need to remember is we are all suffering having polluted waterways by not having those systems repaired and functional. So this program will get things improved. We've also I worked with Mr. Tim Brown, or we've worked with Mr. Tim Brown and Tim Smith. They've laid out what it's going to go take to be able to service and inspect 12,000 systems a year, which is what you'd have to do to get through our 36,000 systems that exist in St. Tammany. We are #1 in the state of Louisiana for individual sewage treatment systems. We should not be proud of that. That is not something that we should be proud of and we want to have in our place. But we've worked with them to go help them understand what it's going to take to get through those. Once you get the exemptions in, that number will go down over time. So I believe, in my opinion, that we've done a good job of listening to the public, listening to people, what their needs are, understanding what we can do, what we can't do, and what the benefits are of going and doing something. We could sit and do nothing, but we know exactly what's going to happen to our waterways if we do nothing. It's time for us to do something. In my opinion, it's time for us to be a leader in the state and go implement a program to go help improve our waterways. We got more growth coming our way. We need to get our waterways cleaned up so our kids can play in them, so our grandkids can play in them, and so we can live, work, play, and raise our families in an environment of clean water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. So that's a motion for an amendment to amend the original ordinance. We're going to get a second. Second. Now it's on the floor still. Substitute, okay.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. It's on the floor. We'll go to Mr. Kugel, Mr. Rick Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to first mention, I do have concerns about this proposed amendment. This is an amendment to a substitute. We received substantial changes at 6:53 this morning. I don't know if all of us read it, but I doubt the public did. And I just checked online. And remember, we have two proposed substitutes, one by my colleague and one by me. This is an amendment to the substitute, and I'm pulling the one up online, and that is not even what's online right now. It's still the substitute, which is not what we're voting on. I guess what we were talking about voting on, but not actually what we're going to vote on. I just feel at this point we're kind of at the stage of throwing stuff against the wall and hoping something sticks. I mean, no one even knows what we're doing here.
Please.
No one
we're not going to have that.
No one even knows what we're voting on, and I don't think this is transparent. I don't think the public even knows what we're voting on. We still have, my concerns are we still are taking $500,000 a year from mosquito. Like as someone mentioned, maybe we should look at, if they have that extra money. I have some other concerns here. We're still looking at a cost, because the estimate was the passage of this ordinance would mandate at least 3,000, if not more, new septic systems be purchased. Average price, $6,000. That's $18 million. And you talk then about the repairs that are going to be required. That's another, how many thousands of those? Those are around $1,500 each. We're about to mandate the spending of $25 million at least in this parish with this ordinance. I think one of my constituent mentioned about 12,000 inspections a year, 10,000. It's actually probably 12. But I wanted, on that, one of my biggest concerns is they do not have testing. I keep hearing this word testing for the inspections. They do not have water testing. And one of my biggest concerns is, in the last week, I was using DuckDuckGo instead of Google, and I just happened upon this model ordinance on one of the state websites. It was the Department of Natural Resources. Somehow we were never made aware that there was a model ordinance for how we were supposed to do this at the municipal and parish level. And what is interesting about it is not only does it not mention 3 years, it actually says 5, and it also says you should do bacteria inspections when you do an inspection. But we don't have this in what's being proposed here. Why are we saying we're so focused on water quality and we're not even going to test the water of the septic systems? That just makes no sense to me. This is other concerns is, again, significant incursions on people's property. We're talking about $12,000 a year going into people's backyard without any legitimate suspicion even that they are not compliant. But we're going to go there anyway when they're not home. This is a big government program. There's just no way around that. And going back to one of my biggest concerns is we have literally made up our own standard for this parish. We have a state model that we're just ignoring. And I'm honestly myself kind of concerned. Why were we never made aware of this? That there is a state model that the state took their time to make, and we were not even aware that this existed. I don't understand that. One last thing is, again, that one of the things that we were just mentioned today is the urban growth boundary is apparently now exempt. Why? If this is so important, why are we now exempting parts of the parish? That doesn't make any sense to me. No one even understands what we're doing here. Let's just be honest. I don't even understand, because I got told at 6:53 this morning, now actually you're going to do something different than what's online. So, I have after this, I oppose this amendment to the substitute. which I think is where we are at this point. I appreciate one of the individuals. I think you clearly know your stuff. You know more about this than me, to be honest. You mentioned, look, what I am proposing is a surgical method that is very just focused on let's find where the pollution is and stop it. That's all I'm interested in. That's what we've told people we're focused on here, but instead what's being proposed right now is a huge government program. I don't know how we're going to spend money on it. No one even knows what we're planning to vote on. Thank you.
Just to be clear before we move on, we're not voting to adopt anything tonight. Everything is simply for introduction. So the only adoption of any ordinance will not be regarding this issue will not be until November. Next, we have Mr. Smith.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Councilman Corbin, for eliminating a lot of the notes that I also had. And to my other colleague, Councilman Kugel, maybe you don't understand it, but I understand it. This is not a rush. This thing's been going on with this council for over a year now, and the previous council actually started it. So I'd say it's a very slow-moving ordinance. I mean, government as a whole moves slow, but this is ridiculously slow. There's a lot of accusations and a lot of misinformation being spouted up here at the podium. One gentleman and one lady, I believe, kind of insinuated that mosquito abatement district is giving money away, insinuating that maybe they've got too much money and that they're just giving it away, and maybe we need to do something about that. I take offense with that. Mosquito abatement district is coming up with $500,000 per year for the next 3 years so that the inspections cost the residents $0. And why would they want to invest that $500,000 a year? Well, you know why? Because it's going to help them with mosquito control. You see, the polluted ditches that these houses with these broken systems that are flushing toilets and bath water and whatever else, and it flows into the ditches, which go into the tributaries, into the rivers, and pollute it. They also kill the fish that eat the mosquito larvae. So the mosquito abatement district said, this is an investment. We're not giving you anything. You're going to help us by doing this to help us control the mosquito problems that we have in this parish. So don't think that they're just having so much money. Hey, here's $1.5 million we're going to give you. They're not giving us anything. They're investing their dollars to control mosquitoes in our parish because the ditches are so polluted that the natural way that the larva gets eaten is these little fish. They can't survive in the ditches because they're too polluted. The same ditches that little kids play in, okay? That ditch, the fish can't live in it. So,
please keep it down.
If you don't have any pride in your parish and you like being known for having beautiful rivers, a beautiful lake, and yet it doesn't bother you that it's polluted, it's polluted with human waste, okay? If that doesn't bother you, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Now, I have empathy for those that may not be able to afford replacement of their systems, okay? If and when they're deemed to be inoperable or need to be replaced. But we're working very diligently with our grant department, with local credit unions to try and find ways that those that are below the poverty threshold won't have to pay anything. Now, I heard somebody mumble something about landlords. Well, landlords don't fit that bill for me, because if you're a landlord and you've got rental properties, you ought to be keeping it up, okay? So, yes, you get fined $500 a month if you don't want to address the problem. If you're living there, it doesn't affect you if you're a renter. But if you own a property and you're below that threshold of income, we're going to work with you, and it may or may not cost you anything, okay? So, with that being said, this is an ordinance that I don't care if it came out at 4:30 this morning. It was very minor adjustments, okay? And if you don't understand it, I'll be happy to sit down and go over it with you. I don't have anything else to say, but I thank you, Mr. Corbin, for explaining a lot of things that were addressed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Mr. Laughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate my constituents. I have constituents from both sides of my district. So for y'all who don't know, I always like to repeat this. I go from Slidell to Abita. I'm the guy in the middle. And everybody in my area is mostly sewer and septic. I'm not sure where to begin on this, but we've got this wrong. The spirit of this is wrong. Charlie, you were the first one to say law enforcement should be the last thing we do. The paradigm of this ordinance is to punish people, is to put it on you. Well, let me tell you something. This is our fault, okay? Not me and this council, but the police jury before, whoever permitted this. Okay? They said this is what you want. We want these types of plants. We want them to discharge to the ditch, and that's how you should build your house. So y'all are not to blame. And I think our priorities are wrong. Our job is to dig the ditches, cut the grass, and pave the roads. We're not doing that. The last thing we need to do is add another task to the list of things that we do not do right in this parish. And then, forgive me for being political, but as a Republican, I cannot enlarge the government anymore. And this is nothing but government overreach. We do not need to be doing this. Matthew, you said the solution is regional sewer. Regional sewer means getting our state and federal partners to come in and put real sewer systems here. Y'all, I'm a transplant from New Orleans. I remember the first time I got called out to go look at someone's ditch, and I saw that effluent pipe come out, and I go, what is that? And when they explained to me what that was, I was like, okay, we got a problem. But and Ms. Teague, you could probably confirm, the police jury, our predecessors probably approved this, and when we permitted it, we gave you permission. So the last thing we can do is blame y'all for our mistake. Thank you.
Ms. O'Brien, no, there's no applause, please. Ms. O'Brien.
Chairman, I'd like to call Tim Brown up, please.
Mr. Brown and Mr. Smith should probably remain close to the podium.
Mr. Brown, I had asked about some literature that would be given to constituents when they came in and talked about stuff. And what I had in my mailbox, I believe, is this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's all we're handing out right now?
No, that's what we handed out at your district meeting that you had here in the council chambers.
Okay. What are we handing out to constituents regarding educating them about septic maintenance?
As part of this new program, we will be handing that literature out. We have some that's a little bit aged, it's older, and we need to refresh that information, but a large component, the major component of this new ordinance will be homeowner education.
Okay, maybe you misunderstood my question. I said, what are we currently giving people when we're trying to educate them about septic maintenance?
Yeah, currently we're just meeting with the customers on site, the residents on site. If they're available, we walk through the system with them and explain how things work.
Okay. I know in the past we had some literature that was given to people, because I know I have a system, and at one point I had an electrical problem, and thank God y'all, put a door hanger, because I could have possibly had my house burned. But I had some brochures that were very specific about educating how to properly maintain. I personally think that we need to improve what we're doing and get that information out to people already. Since we've been talking about this for such a long period of time, I'm very disappointed that we're not doing more of that. I would have liked to have that at my community meeting also. That's the only thing I had to ask you, Tim.
Can I just mention, there have been so many iterations of this. When we finally produce that document, we want it to be specific to this program, so that people know what the requirements are.
Okay, but basic maintenance is what I'm talking about. And I know we did that in the past, and I guess I'm struggling to understand why we're not doing that currently. But that was my only question about what we're handing out.
Yes, ma'am.
But you may want to sit close to the front, because somebody else may want to ask a question. You know, we did get something this morning at about a little bit before 7 o'clock, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't have a totally clear day where I could sit down and read it. I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to somebody who knows more about this. I'm a school teacher by trade. You talk to me about kids, I can get you to help your kids learn and all this other stuff, but I'm not an expert on this. Now, I will say this, everybody I know wants cleaner water, but the devil's always in the details. And as a policy, I don't like voting to approve something that I don't even have 24 hours to read, especially if it's lengthy. And I have to say, I'm hearing that it was online. Now, I know the amended substitute to the original is not online. The amended substitute, the First Amendment substitute is online. So, I don't know, for me personally, I feel ethically I should be able to read it and understand it, and I feel like maybe, I don't know, when we've waited on this 2 months, I would think I would feel more comfortable at least 48 hours or a week. I know some people asked to be involved in the planning of this. I don't know if that occurred. I think that's a valid request from the community. I would really like for somebody to tell me were some of the people who, if I recall correctly, they requested that at the last meeting. So I would really like to know, did they have an opportunity to give input in this so everybody's concerns and questions could be addressed? I think that's being transparent, and I think that's being fair. Honestly, when I found about the state standards, I thought to myself, why are we not focusing more on the state standards? And if we are truly concerned about water quality, why are we not testing water? I don't know that my constituents would appreciate a change in requirements or testing for my district, and it's different for somebody else. I don't know that that would go over well with everybody in my district. So I'm not saying I don't want to do this. Look, we need to have clean water. I absolutely agree. But the road to you know what is paved with a bunch of good intentions. And we have great intentions. And look, I want to compliment the people on this council who have worked very hard. Tim has worked very hard. But I'm going to say one thing. A fact sheet about an ordinance that's been amended multiple times is not enough in my mind. If we are truly worried about making sure septic systems are functioning properly, we have to help educate. And I know we used to have brochures to do that. I don't understand why we're not doing that now, which gives me concern about growing government. Because as a conservative, I believe in less government, not more government. And I think a lot of my constituents believe that too. So I think that the intentions have been wonderful. And we all agree we need clean water. The decision is, how do we get there? And I have to tell you, for me personally, I'm leaning towards state standards. And I'm leaning towards allowing people to have an opportunity to give input because they've asked for it several times. Did we do that? I'm seeing some people shaking their heads no. I think that's a fair question. That's a fair request. This is supposed to be transparent. We always tell people we want them more involved. Well, let's let them be involved. We want to do it right. I have some concerns. I don't, just as a policy, I don't like to approve something that I don't have a chance to read and understand and ask questions about. And that's where we're at right now. And no disrespect to anybody, I know multiple people have worked very, very hard, and they've done a lot of great work. So I want to compliment both sides. They really deserve a compliment. The goal is to make this better for all of us. It's how do we get there? And I think that's important. And I personally would like to postpone this because I want to understand it better. And we've looked at this for a long time. I want to do it right. I don't want it to be a check mark. Look at what we did. I want to do it right. And I would think if I see some heads shaking, I would think some other people agree with what I'm saying. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. I always say I'd rather do it right than do it fast. Okay, this is not fast. I have to admit, this is not fast. Okay? Nobody will argue that. But I still think there's more work to be done. And honestly, as a council member, I want to honor their request to be involved in this program. And I want them to have their questions and concerns answered. Please, somebody tell me if that opportunity was given, because I'm not aware that it was.
We had 5 public meetings. We had 3 in Slidell, and we had 2 on this side of the parish.
Okay, and where was that advertised? And I don't know how many people were aware of it. And how many people attended? Let me ask you that.
The one in the Towers building, we probably had 40 people there.
Good.
50.
I was not aware of that meeting.
The one over here, we had your district meeting here, and we also had...
yeah, but my community meeting was not just that.
No.
Y'all were at an open house for that. You know, you were able to hand out stuff, and we handed out the ordinance fact sheet.
And then we had several in Mr. Strickland's district, and we had one other over here in the council chambers that was not well attended.
Okay, but I know some people specifically asked to be involved, and I was just curious if they had an opportunity, if anybody contacted them or let them know about an opportunity to give input. I think that's important. I think it's fair.
Well, certainly there was certainly back and forth at these public meetings where they were able to offer their concerns, and we addressed a lot of those concerns.
I don't know if any of these people who made that request went to those meetings. I don't know if they were aware of those meetings.
I don't know who made those requests.
And look, in fairness to everybody in government, it is hard for us to get information out. Because if you put it in the newspaper, most older people see it. If you put it in social media, that's a different age group. You have to put it on Instagram and X and all to get the really young ones to participate. So it's a real challenge for us. In fairness to everybody in government, it is a challenge for us to get information out. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, I didn't even know that substitute ordinance was online, and I'm on the council.
Ms. O'Brien, you've exceeded a 10-minute time limit. I do want to say, I think this is one of the few times amendments or substitutions have ever been posted. And again, we are not voting to adopt this ordinance this month. This is for introduction. Just to make, Ms. O'Brien, please. You should understand that very well. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me thank 2 people who spoke on the council, Mr. Corbin and Mr. Rick Smith, for providing answers to information that the public here that has attended, and we appreciate you taking your time to attend, to answer questions that you pose to us. And frankly, some of the answers that we heard refreshed my memory. And so I think that. I was going to say what the chairman just said. We have to remember one thing. We are not voting to adopt anything tonight. That's extremely important. Okay? Why are we not voting to amend something tonight? Because the law requires that an ordinance be introduced, and that ordinance has to lay over for at least a month to the next council meeting. So no matter whether it's Mr. Corbin's amendment Mr. Kugel referred to his. There's going to be, today's the 2nd of October. I don't know what the first Thursday in November is, but I can't imagine it's the 1st of November.
It's the 6th.
It's the what?
6th.
November 6th.
6th. Okay. We're going to have 34 days. 34 days for citizens that came tonight, and appreciate you taking your time again, for council members who have rightly mentioned they saw a change, whether it's minor or not, late this morning, to gain more information before we do the important thing, which is the actual vote on the 4th or whatever 5th of November. Now, someone mentioned it's not our fault. It's nobody's fault, okay? It's nobody's fault. St. Tammany Parish, I moved here 49 years ago from New Orleans. I live in an area that has centralized sewage treatment. Let me say, so that we all are clear about this, and I'm not using this against people that would have to pay because of needing a new septic system or whatever. But for 49 years, me and my family have been paying for the centralized sewage treatment every month. I'm not going to go into my brain and try to figure out how many 20s or 30 thousands of dollars that amounted to 49 years times 12 months, but it's a lot of money, okay? But listen, we can't have any community. We can't have any community. There would be disease, and I'm not a doctor, but I know enough to know this. We would have disease everywhere if we didn't have a way to deal with what comes out of our systems. It's the way we were born and made, comes out of animals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We couldn't exist as a community. There'd be disease everywhere. So I have a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. For Mr. Corbin and Mr. Brown. I want to be clear about this because this is very important to me. Although I'm not voting tonight to adopt anything on the people of St. Tammany Parish. That's not what this is. It's introduction. The 75, Jeff, you mentioned about HUD and maybe the state. If any of the people in the audience, any of the people on this council live on a septic system or updated sewage small single package system, if your income is under $75,000, HUD will pay for this.
There's a HUD grant available.
Huh?
There's a HUD grant to pay for it, both either for pay for repairs and or replacement, and you pick your own contractor. We'll provide a list of contractors that are willing to do the work. You pick them, and then they generate a check to pay them that's made out to you and the contractor. So yes, 100% for people that make, a household that makes less than $75,000, that grant program is already in place. In fact, that same grant program is currently being used under the current system of inspection that occurs when power changes.
That's a federal HUD, right?
Yeah, I'd go to John. John, if you could, I don't know if you need to come up, but did I say anything that's incorrect?
No, you did very well.
Thank you.
Okay, so 75,000. Family of four, 75,000. What is it for a family of three? Nothing?
It's just 75,000 for a household of wage earners. Household of wage earners, 75,000. And then we're also working, as I mentioned, to go find credit unions and banks that are locally that are willing to go provide low-income loans for people that don't meet the grant program, the requirements of the grant program.
Okay, so on the grant, if you're earning 75,000 or less, if you're retired and on Social Security, do you qualify? I don't know of anybody making $75,001 on Social Security. Do you qualify for the grant? John's saying yes.
Yes. And that information is left with the resident at the time of the inspection.
Okay. So I'm not going to ask people to raise your hands because I wouldn't ask anybody to disclose what their income level is, okay? But just think to yourselves. One of the most important things that I heard tonight is this 75,000. Because a lot of what I heard tonight is we want clean water. We all agree. We want our bayous, our streams, and our lake and clean. Whether you swim it or not, we want it clean, okay? But cost is a real problem. And I agree with that. Cost is a real problem for people. And it's a big problem for people who are earning strictly Social Security, living on much less than $75,000 or $74,999. Don't raise your hands. Does it make you feel better that the federal government, who in all my years on this council and the Slidell City Council, I don't remember giving us much. We had to do a lot of begging with people like John Marino. John, I probably got your old last name.
No, that's right.
Okay. That's our grants director. You can't imagine how much work she has to do to get money back to our community from the federal government. And I'm hearing under 75,000 or less. Jeff just explained it. He's put a lot of time into this thing. Not everybody on this council can say that we put a lot of time into this. And that's fine, because we have different committees. We have different council members working on different committees. We can't get 14 of us together at one time. It's illegal, okay? We can't get 8 of us together at one time. It's illegal. It would be a majority of the council. So we break into groups. I'm going to vote on Mr. Corbin's amendment. I want to hear Mr. Kugel's amendment, substitute further. But remember to introduce it. But think about the money, and are you for it when you take money out of the picture?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bender. Mr. Phillips.
Well, first thing I'd like to say is this is probably the most logical thing I heard all night, is this regional sewage treatment plant, okay? I've been asking about this since I've been on the council, and I keep being told, oh, we're going to talk about it, but we never talk about it. That's the first thing, all right? The other thing is the communication and education. If we're getting asked that over and over again, I have to agree we're not communicating and educating well enough. Okay, that's another thing I would have to agree with from the audience. The other thing is, for this department to do this, they're going to have to grow their department. They're going to have to hire more people. I'm not wanting to grow government. I don't think that's right. I think as a conservative, we need to maintain the size of government where it is now, if not reduce. This ordinance right here does not test the water. Okay, if you're going to go to 20 places, that's not covering the whole parish. Yeah, I agree in data, Jeff. I agree in this. I know how a scientist works, all right. But, you know, you have to use a KISS rule, too. And the other part is you're sort of being proven guilty before innocent in this thing. We're going to inspect your system. It might not need inspected, all right? Well, if the water's dirty, if we test the water first, and we see the ditch is contaminated, absolutely. Test it. We need to inspect somebody's system. Let's get some samples here. Let's go inspect the system. That makes a more logical approach to me than just going out and saying we're going to inspect 12,000 a year. I don't believe it. That ain't never going to happen. No way in heaven. Okay, that's my feelings on it. Urban growth line, that came out of nowhere in the last day or so. So, hey, you know what? You guys know as much as I know about the urban growth line and why we would be discriminating against some groups and not other groups here with this urban growth line. $1.5 million for mosquito abatement. Now, we're talking about reducing millages for all these different dedicated fund organizations. Mosquito abatement in the next year or so is going to come up for a rededication. Well, keep your money, reduce your millage. Let's give some money back to the people, you know? That's $1.5 million and over a period of time, whatever they're going to ask for. So, you know, yeah, we're asking them, or they're saying they're going to give it to us, but hey, you know what? Reduce your millage and give it to us if they have that much money to spend. Nowhere in this ordinance does it say where the funding is coming from. It says, whereas the funding has been identified. You've heard people talk about stuff, but if it's not in the ordinance, at the below section of it, where it doesn't say whereas, funding has not been identified for this program. That's what I was told anyhow. That's the way the law would read it. Okay, and the other part of it is after 3 years, we're going to be looking for more money to continue this program. So we need to identify in the ordinance where the money is going to come from. Let's see. Now, everybody here, and I've heard a lot of accusations about, oh, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you like dirty water, you want to play in dirty water. And I want clean water just like everybody else. I think we're just having a difference of opinion, starting up here where the clean water is and coming on down how we're going to get there, okay? I think this thing should be postponed again. And no disrespect to Mr. Taladino, I think he worked real hard when he was sitting in this seat. And I think it's a great objective to clean our water, and it's very, very important. But we have so many things going on right at this minute. We just got handed, look what we got handed right here, the budget book. This is what we're supposed to be working on in the next 3 months, along with some other things, okay? I think we need to get this solved first, how we're going to pay the DA this year, for next year, in the Justice Center, in the jailhouse, and then we can come back to this thing in January and start dissecting it, find the good parts, find out what's acceptable to the people without being intrusive on their property, without saying you're guilty, we're coming to inspect you before we know whether your thing is not putting out clean water. I don't think that's unreasonable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Brown, I have a few questions. So as you know, and we've talked about this many times, I have been here my entire life. And I grew up on Bayou Lacombe and Bayou Cane, and now it is on the impaired water list.
That's right.
And what does that mean?
So EPA is required to generate what's called the 303D list. 303D references the section of the Clean Water Act where this list is maintained by EPA. And they've delegated to the state agencies, in our case, the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, to go out and determine which water bodies throughout the entire state are impaired. And once DEQ reports that back to EPA, they list it on the 303D list as being impaired. So DEQ goes out and they sample the ambient water quality. If it doesn't meet the state standards, then it is then listed as impaired.
But in layman's terms, it means it's not recommended that I swim or eat fish or crabs or seafood out of Bayou Lacombe or Bayou Cane, and what others?
Yeah, the Chifuncta, the Bogophylia, Bayou Cane, Bayou Liberty, Bayou Paquet, just about
Are there
all
any
of them.
that are in St. Tammany Parish that are not on the impaired list?
The Pearl River is impaired at the very bottom, but not up towards the parish line. The Bogachitta is not. I believe Mr. Allen mentioned one other one that was not, but very few.
Very few. So 30 years ago, 25 years ago, probably even, it was not impaired, it was okay, and now we shouldn't swim or eat seafood out of our local waterways.
Well, the 303D list deals with primary contact recreation, swimming, and secondary contact recreation, boating. It does not put food restrictions. It doesn't put any kind of restriction on eating the seafood or the fish.
Swimming, skiing.
That's right.
Okay. And I would assume as we continue to grow, because I do agree with Mr. Allen and with the council and Parish President Cooper, we met several times, and we are working towards looking at potential for regional sewage, in particular in the growth management area, because we know that's where the primary density is, where we have 50-foot lots with tons of subdivisions. Just in District 7, I can name Hidden Pines, Tammany Forest, Forest Glen, Arundel Heights, where I live, where every ditch is polluted and disgusting, where kids try to play, dogs get in all the time, because we, including myself, have not maintained our responsibility, which is to maintain our own independent treatment plant. Education, you should know how to maintain your treatment plant. It is our responsibility to do that. Is that not right?
That's correct.
We don't pay a bill. I don't pay a monthly fee for regional sewage or for water. I'm supposed to maintain my treatment plant. And if we don't, we're polluting all of our waterways. So before we do get to regional treatment, which I would assume is a 10 to 20 year process, if we're successful starting now, we must do something. Or is the answer to do nothing? Why is Mosquito District, I want to hear it from you, why are they contributing to this?
This effort furthers their mission. The discharges from these wastewater treatment plants, when they impair those ditches and water bodies, they put stress on the natural predators for these mosquito larvae. And once you have an absence of those mosquito fish, the mosquitoes can then proliferate. They're the natural predator for this mosquito larvae.
So they spray for mosquitoes, they have a helicopter for mosquitoes, they have trucks for mosquitoes, and they spray the ditches constantly.
That's
so
right.
This will help in their mission.
That's exactly right.
So it's not a donation, or they're not just doing it to help us out as a favor. They're doing it to further their mission, which they are allowed to do.
That's correct.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
And those mosquito that reside in those sewage impaired and polluted ditches and water bodies are the vector for West Nile virus. So that's one of the Mosquito Abatement District's primary concerns, is keeping those particular mosquitoes at bay.
Is a septic tank legal to have if you have one and it discharges directly into a ditch?
It is not. That is expressly forbidden by the state sanitary code.
It's forbidden?
Yes.
So if you have one and you should voluntarily replace it?
Well, it's putting raw or poorly treated sewage into the ditches. So I would hope that people would take the initiative to go ahead and work towards that goal.
So to me, this helps work towards that goal, because now if you can't afford it, or if your income threshold is below $75,000 gross income, you will get a grant. You can possibly get a grant, or you can get a grant.
It depends on, that's a better question for Jean.
But for you, if they're in the process of getting that grant, will they be fined?
No, no. If the resident is acting in good faith and trying to come into compliance and fix whatever deficiencies we've identified, we will not take any kind of enforcement action on them.
Now, the inspection we're talking about, is it basically the same inspection you do now when you transfer your electricity?
It's the basic same inspection. That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Smith, would you mind?
I should clarify there. Currently, there's an issue with paperwork. That issue goes away with this new ordinance. So this is actually improves the situation for the residents of St. Tammany in terms of paperwork issues.
And that inspection costs $100, right?
The current one, yes.
And if we pass this ordinance, the inspection will cost?
Zero.
Zero. Mr. Smith, you did such a great job at one of the 5 community meetings, and I would also like to note that this started in 2023. There was a pilot program done, I think, mid last year, and then it was postponed 60 days, the original time, just so we could do this. There was 5 community meetings. There's been tons of education, tons of opportunities to learn about it. And again, we have impaired waterways. We have to do something to upgrade them to stop this continued pollution. Could you briefly walk through how the inspection program works?
Yes, sir. So we come on a person's property, pull up in their driveway, we'll have our lights on, we knock on their door, hope they're home, because that's when we want to educate them. If they're not home, we will proceed to do the inspection. If they are home, we ask them to accompany us. We walk over to their system, locate their system, identify if it is a septic tank or an ATU, because depending on what it is, depends on what we look for. If it's an ATU, we're looking for an aerator, make sure it's operating. We don't have to locate an aerator to see if it's operating. We use stethoscopes, as was mentioned by Shrink Conservancy, and we can listen for aeration, trying to listen for just action in the tank. If we hear aeration, great. That's what we're looking for. We're just making sure that then it's not collapsed, falling in on sail, making a hazard for others. And great, passes, we're good. If we hear no aeration at the tank, we'll go look for the aerator, see if it's operating, see if it's plugged in, see if the breaker's tripping. If it is running, operating, but there's no aeration in the tank that we're hearing, we'll check we can pull the little air line off to see if it's running with diaphragms busted or not. If it's not busted, it's not getting to the tank, the airline's broken or airline's plugged. So we're trying to identify reasons of why it's not aerating, getting aeration into the tank for the homeowner to help diagnose it so they know what they're looking for. Because if the aerator's not running, you basically have a septic tank going straight to your ditch. Except the difference is septic tanks are designed to be anaerobic, and they're much bigger tanks than these smaller aerobic systems. So you have a small septic system, so it's just going straight out faster. So raw sewage is getting to the street faster when your aerator's not working. Then when we finish the inspection, so if it's a septic tank, there's no aeration, we'll look for a discharge or not. So we can identify it to the homeowner and let the homeowner know. If everything's working good, you get a pass. If you're exempt, if your discharge remains on your property with overland flow, spray irrigation, you're exempt. There's no off-site discharge. We'll go back, we'll ask the homeowners, we'll provide them information. If we can't get to, say an area we can't locate, we know it's an ATU, might be missing, might be unplugged, because a lot of times we'll go out and they're just unplugged. People unplug them, plug in their weed eaters, plug in their Christmas lights, never plug them back in. Don't know what it's there. A lot of people move from the South Shore, don't know where they're about, what's going on with their ATUs, until they call and ask us, hey, can you tell me what's going on? It's backing up in my house, you know where my system is? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But we'll go out and try to help them. So we'll get with them, we'll give them information, education information. They can get back with us, grant information, and we work with them. Big thing's communication. We all hear that overnight. Communication, all nights, communication, communication. Big thing's just communicating. Working towards compliance, working towards just touching base with us, trying to, hey, we got your door hanger, you weren't home. I'm sure people in this audience has been inspected by us, and they will all tell you if they have been, we haven't taken any enforcement action against them. Nobody here is going to say that we've ever taken enforcement action against them for non-compliant system. And then we just go on to the next resident.
So if you come to my house and my aerator's broke, you don't have a gun?
Nope, we're not hauling you off. We're not law enforcement. We're just going to leave you a note.
You're going to help me. You're going to help me do what I should be doing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That was very well done. Next, we have Ms. Seiden.
Tim, I do have a couple of questions for you. So, Mr. Laughlin brought up the spirit of this this ordinance, and I guess my take on it is a little
Ms. Seiden,
different.
try to speak closer to your microphone, please.
My take on it is a little different. Currently, we have the authority to enter someone's property now, don't we?
That's correct.
So can you explain what the difference is between what is on the books now and what we're trying to improve?
Yeah, this ordinance actually improves it for the residents of St. Tammany Parish over what we currently have. Environmental Services currently has the authority to go on property. We have the authority to fine $100 per day up to a maximum of $10,000. This proposed ordinance actually reduces that to $100 per month. It also...
And we're not going to enforce that as long as they're working with us.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct. The intent of this is not to be punitive.
Right.
The intent of this is to be a homeowner education program to go out and assist people, identify the problems, and get them corrected. The goal is just to get compliance and clean up our water bodies.
And can you let everyone know how many gallons of raw feces is being dumped into the waterways a day?
Yeah, so the 36,000 treatment plants that we estimate are in St. Tammany Parish, if you multiply that times 400 gallons per day, which is the LDH loading criteria, that comes out to 14 million gallons per day. Now, historically, we've seen a failure rate of about 50%. That's based on many different studies that we've done. The pilot study showed 21%.
Right.
So let's just say a 25% failure rate. Let's be generous, that only 25% are failing. That's still 3.5 million gallons per day of poorly treated or raw sewage going into our ditches.
Right. Well, I am in favor of this ordinance, and I do understand it, so I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mr. Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A little taken back right now with some of the comments from the audience and also from the council. Number one, there were several meetings. I think that's been said since the 5. I was in this room for one of them. I was actually sitting there with where you are at the red shirt right there. And there were several councilmen on the first row. So there was meetings. It was advertised. If you can't make it, totally understand that, but they were. So it takes me back a little bit to hear from the public that they never educated about this. This is, I think, driving a lot of us on this council crazy because we are trying to get it out to our constituents. I do it on my Facebook. The parish has a site. The parish has a website. You need to join the Facebook page to kind of educate yourself. Instead of coming up here blaming and pointing the finger, don't have trust for this government. So that's one thing. Second, it was already said about the private inspections. If you don't trust this parish, if you don't think they're going to do it right, get a private inspection certificate. It's your responsibility to have a system that works on your property. I live in the city limits of Covington. Mr. Bender said this a minute ago. He lives in the Slidell area. My bill, and I live in my house for 20 years, pays for water, trash, and sewer. Every month I pay sewer. I haven't done the math to see 20 years what I've paid into it. Nobody wants a new tax in this parish. We know that already. So if we want central sewer system, get ready. So you purchase the property, you have a septic tank. Does it work or not? I would think it's your responsibility to want to know if it works. I want to know if my family is safe in that household. I want to know if my neighbor next to me is safe and my neighbor a mile from me is safe. It really takes me back to think someone else is responsible for that. It's your property. This council has worked very hard. Not every single person was involved in the committee, but a lot of people have been involved. And we listen to them, and we want to know what they have to say. There are grants there. No one's trying to fine you unless you don't want to do something. It's your property. When you have a leaking roof or plumbing inside your house or your car needs to be fixed, you get it fixed, don't you? Why wouldn't you fix your septic tank? It's polluting your neighbors. It's polluting this parish. This is an ordinance for the future of this parish. I probably won't be on this council, or many of us won't be on this council years from now, when it's going to really make a difference. We're setting a tone. So please, as homeowners or landlords, they need to get their systems ready, and we have to start somewhere. And again, central sewer, Hey, if you want it, we can go to the polls for that. Okay? Just like we do in the municipalities. We are paying every single month for sewer. I love the city of Covington. I love what they do to maintenance it. I have trust in them. This parish is trying to make a difference. So we have to start somewhere, and we're not voting on this tonight. Let's get it introduced. Let's talk about if we need to revise it, and let's just get this moving. This started in 2023. So if people come up here saying never heard about it, or you just haven't been listening or talking to your council person about it. So, Mr. Chair, I have a question really quick. Mr. Corbin's changes, have that been introduced yet? Has it been?
It has been introduced and seconded.
Okay, it has
We
been.
have not
Okay.
voted on the amendments to the ordinance.
Okay. I appreciate it. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. We have Mr. Burke.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you to all the people that came out tonight, and it looks like it's almost 9 o'clock, but have waited here, spoke here in regards to what we're proposing tonight. I do realize this is for introduction, and you know, I just want to remind my colleagues and even myself that we work for you, we work for the people. I've listened to you and I've heard you tonight. Me personally, I want clean water, and I think every single person in this room wants clean water. My colleagues, everybody in the audience, we all want clean water. We want a goal to get there. But I think some of the residents, from what I'm hearing, are a little afraid. They're a little mistrusting of the government. It reminds me of one of my favorite presidents who said the 9 scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So at this point in time, I'm in a position where, you know, I really want to take some time. This is for introduction tonight. I realize that. I'm glad we're not voting on this tonight because I couldn't vote for it. But I encourage you all during the next 34 days to get involved. Talk to your councilman or councilwoman. Find out all the facts, get the details. I personally would rather see a more scaled down surgical approach to this problem. And I think somebody just mentioned it's not our intent to do something or to find or for it to be punitive, but it's written in the language. So, like I said, I think we need to take a step back and continue to work on this. I'm hoping that in the next 34 days we will come up with something that's going to be satisfactory to not only to us but to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Burke is the last person that hasn't spoken already. I understand, but everybody spoke at once. Had to make sure everybody had a chance to speak first before we went to other people. Next we'll go to Mr. Kugel. I did want to address one thing. I'm in a business where we deliver grocery stores. We deliver 8 to 12 grocery stores per day. It's a much wider spread. If you can't inspect 15 to 20 of these treatment plants per day, you're having a problem. So the thought of us not being able to inspect 12,000 a year is ridiculous. Mr. Kugel.
Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate all the comments from my colleagues. I do want to clarify 2 things. Again, I'm looking right now, the amendment that we are voting to adopt, to amend to is not online right now. So the public does not, other than the discussion we're having, does not see what we're about to talking about amending. I don't think we should be voting on huge things that the public doesn't get to see. To my colleague, Mr. Smith, we all want to do something. And I don't think this whole dogmatic approach to where it's almost a religious test, whether or not you support this specific version of the ordinance, is just not helpful, and it's offensive, honestly. We received at 6:53 this morning a very substantive change. It is not online right now for the people to see. It does not have independent water testing. Why are we ignoring what the state recommends? I don't understand that. That just makes no sense to me. The state recommends individual water testing for bacteria. Why would we ignore that? I cannot understand that. We have a different standard for the urban growth boundary, which is we just became aware of today. And ultimately, we have made our own standard for how we're going to do this. And my theory as to why that is because we just want to increase the volume of testing. Not even testing, because we're not doing testing, we're doing inspection. If we lower the standards, we can inspect more. That's really what, in my opinion, this is about. And one final thing I just want to say, the grants that we keep hearing mentioned, and I just confirmed this with our attorney, they are not in the ordinance, they are in what's called the recitation. They are not part of this ordinance. They will not be adopted into law. They are part of the recital, which is in the whereas portion at the top. They do not have legal effect when it's mentioned here. And if you want to clarify, we can do that. But I think we need to be careful we don't, as we say in the military, don't overpromise and underdeliver. And I think maybe the best thing, and I've heard it mentioned, or maybe the best thing is to postpone this, because let's see, hey, we got to introduce it tonight, but we can change it later. If we change it later, we have to reintroduce it again. Why are we rushing something through that the public has not even seen? Thank you.
Okay, we have Mr. Laughlin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my colleague, Mr. Kugel. I think we need to perhaps, I would like to make a motion to postpone. I'm not sure procedurally wise, since we already have a motion and a second on the floor, if we have to call
to vote on that motion that's on the floor first.
So then maybe we should move to, if you would consider calling the question on that, and I would like to make a secondary proposal.
Can we get a legal motion, point of order? Doesn't motion postpone supersede?
Motion to postpone to a certain time would supersede. When are you proposing the motion to postpone?
Postpone the amendments, something we're just voting on amendments to something we're not voting on.
Well, no. Well, that's something different.
Yeah.
What's currently before the council is the proposed motion to amend. Okay, so any motion to postpone would pertain to the motion to amend. You would then default back to the original motion, or the original ordinance, which is up for introduction. There would have to be there'd have to be then another motion to postpone that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'd like to make that motion to postpone.
Okay, we have some more people in the queue, but let's go ahead and entertain this motion. We have a motion and a second to postpone amendments to an ordinance.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know till when?
I would assume it's 1 month.
1 month?
No, it's, I apologize. Let's postpone until January.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to postpone amendments to an existing, to an ordinance that's introduced until January.
Yes.
Please vote.
The motion fails with 8 nays and 6 yeas.
Okay. So let's go into the voting on the motion.
Hold on one moment.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready, Ms. Katrina.
So now we are back to debate on the motion to amend.
Oh, I think we debated it to death.
Someone has to call the question.
Okay, so we have three more people in the queue, and then we're going to call the question and move on. Mr. Phillips?
Okay, so right now we have a motion to amend, right? I call the question.
Needs a second.
I'll second that.
Second, we vote on call the question, right?
Let's get it done.
This is, which one?
This is just to call the question to vote on the motion, to vote on a motion to amend the existing ordinance. 2/3 vote is required.
What 2/3 vote is required? On a motion to call the question, a 2/3 vote is required.
Oh, what? Okay, I'm sorry. We're voting to call a question, not voting to amend?
Correct.
To call the question. To call the question.
What?
So can you confirm what amendment people are voting for?
You're not voting on an amendment
Right
yet.
now, we're voting to call the question. After, depending on how that motion goes, will depend on how we move forward.
And we need a 2/3 vote of yes for the question to be called.
Please vote.
Yay is to...
Yea is to call the question. No is not to call the question.
The motion passes with 11 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay, so now we have a motion on.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm sorry. I know it's confusing, but I'm going to get it straight. It's not that, it's not as complicated as it seems.
All right.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor to amend the ordinance. So let's vote on that.
You're actually substituting it. Because it's pretty different. Mr. Burke, what was your vote? Yay. With a verbal yay from Mr. Burke, the motion passes with 9 yeas and 5 nays.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kugel.
Hold on 1 moment.
1 moment. Did you still want to speak, Joe? Hold on. David, hit your light again. Jeff was up first.
All right, we've made our motion. This is now substituted. I would like to respond to a couple of the questions that were brought up. Yes, in fact, I did release a revision this morning at 6:53. I also released a revision a few days ago at 3 a.m. Every single revision that I've released has had markup showing what has changed between each revision. So at least on the council side, the council's been fully informed. I've sent it every single time I've made an amendment, and I provided it to every council member. In addition, I have chaired 2 sets of meetings with the council over the last month, asking for questions and reviewing the ordinance as it's evolving. Every single person on the council was invited to those and could participate in those meetings. And they were less than a quorum. We did it, it was only informational, just to say this is what's in the ordinance. So I appreciate that it's evolving, but there are minor changes. The change that was made today, we added more testing. Now you've heard from Councilman Kugel several times there's no testing. There is testing. There's testing that was added today for DES to help their prioritization of what areas to go focus on. And there's also a reference to the testing that is through the Lake Pontchartrain, the Pontchartrain Conservancy, of $313,000 as part of an EPA grant. So DES is going to conduct regular sampling. It's in paragraph B of the ordinance. And every council person has been provided that at 6:53 this morning. In addition, one of the things that I did not mention is Mr. Brown and Mr. Smith will be reporting to the Infrastructure Committee on a monthly basis, assuming this goes forward. If it goes forward, they have a monthly requirement to provide a written and/or an oral presentation to the Infrastructure Committee so that we can keep the public well informed of how this process starts to roll out if it's approved, and then what the data is coming back from the testing that we're doing. I think it's pretty comprehensive. How many, Mr. Brown, on the current ordinance that is in place today for power, how many fines have you levied in the last 10 years?
0.
0?
That's right.
So not a single fine?
That's right.
Okay, so not a single fine. Nobody's been fined. What does that mean? That means Tim's organization has worked with residents who are moving forward on fixing their systems and levied 0 fines. And those fines are $100 a day, right?
A day.
A day versus $100 a week.
A month.
Excuse me, $100 a month. I also want to point out, we talk about education. I know not all of you get the Slidell Independent, but I will share with you that if you go get the Independent and you look on page 2B, there's an article that describes this ordinance in great detail. It also provides the data that came out of the pilot program. I'd encourage you to go pick up a copy and read it. It's available free online if you can't get a hard copy. The ordinance is well described. Again, we've talked a lot. This is introduction. Mr. Brown has provided a budget. We talked about where the financing is going to come from. There's no reason to go put in place a CEA until we have an ordinance that passes. We have a commitment from Mosquito Abatement District to provide $500,000 a year, Mr. Phillips. You don't go secure that funding until you actually have an ordinance that you can go put it against. Again, we have had, I attended the community meetings. I personally attended every community meeting except Miss O'Brien's meeting. That's the only one that I missed. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to gather information for what the public thought about the ordinance so that I could make sure we're addressing their concerns and I understood what they were. I attended those community meetings. I've made myself available to every one of my council members repeatedly. I provided them continuous updates, and I've also made myself available to the public. Residents want to take advantage of the waterways. Well, we hear all the time, we don't want development because we want to take advantage of this bucolic environment we live in. I'm not going to swim in our waterways, and I'm not going to put my grandkids in our waterways, our waterways. I'm not going to go eat fish and seafood out of our waterways. That's a pretty sad state of affairs for a bucolic environment that we want to go survive in. Councilman Kugel talked about surgical. Surgical is when you have, if we had failure rates 4%, 5%, 3%, that's different. That might warrant a surgical process. We don't. We have failure rates between 20 and 50%, and 35% of the properties in residential properties in St. Tammany Parish have individual sewage treatment systems. The people that should be most unhappy are the 60% of the people that are paying for sewage every month, and they're still living with the same polluted water that the rest of us are living with. My opinion is we're in a position we can't do nothing. I yield back to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kugel. I believe you have another substitution.
Actually, first, if I could speak, I just want to just correct something. The item we received at 6:53 this morning does not have individual testing. It has some rotating testing in ditches and such. It does not have
Kugel,
individual
the question's
testing.
been called. Mr. Corbett answered some other questions. Can you, if you have something new to introduce, please proceed with it. We're not going to debate the last thing. It's already been amended, and we're moving on.
But we're actually talking about voting on it, though, aren't we? I'm sorry. That's correct. That's correct.
It's been introduced.
Correct. So
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Okay.
Before you proceed, since Ms. Corbett, you make a motion to introduce?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Bender?
Yep.
Okay, so now it is introduced. You have something else to bring to the table, sir?
Yes. I wanted to offer a substitute motion, a substitute amendment. Actually, if I could, we have a state standard we can follow or not. So I think, especially with the budget coming up next month, I'm going to make a motion to postpone this till January. The public doesn't even know what we're voting on right now or what we're even trying to do. I don't think that's a responsible way to do this.
We've already voted.
So I'm making a motion to postpone till January.
We've already voted on that.
Right. But we're already introduced, right. But you're saying now we may change it over next month. So I'm making a motion to postpone till January.
Postpone the introduction again?
Yes.
Okay. Motion and second to postpone.
The motion fails with 6 yeas and 8 nays.
Okay.
Hold on one moment. Okay.
Yes, so I am going to make a motion to substitute based on, I think we should be doing individual testing, so I'm making a motion to substitute with the ordinance, my ordinance.
Okay, a motion to substitute with Mr. Kugel. Mr. Phillips, do you second that motion?
I second it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on a motion to substitute. Any more questions? Okay, please vote on the motion and second to substitute.
The motion fails with 9 nays and 5 yeas.
Okay. Let's move on to,
Just one moment, please.
you tell me, I'm talking to myself.
I have one question.
There's no more discussion on this, Mr. Phillips. The motion has failed. We are moving on.